As promised, this is a video on schemas of play. In one of our last video with a series of skits that Andre did with Lyric, I briefly mentioned at the end that the reason why Lyric was doing all of this throwing was a result of trajectory schema, and I want to talk to you more about that. But I want to give you more information about all of the schemas of play, just to touch on it, trajectory schema being one that I'll focus on. The reason why I think that this is important, because this is new to this channel, but on my Instagram page I've sort of made it my mission to try to educate parents, particularly parents of color, because we tend to parent from a place of tradition as opposed to parenting from a place of knowledge, based on a lot of the research that is out there that could help, that can inform our parenting in ways that really could change the trajectories of Black communities, I feel. It's common for harsh parenting practices to be associated with Black women. It is common for us to feel that if we are parenting with love and nurturing and understanding and not with a quick temper or rolling our eyes and setting our kids straight at every infraction, that we're not parenting in the Black tradition. I talk a lot more about this in my blog. Check it out, joymerrily.com, and just click the blog link, and I go into more detail in a couple of my posts on this topic, but I'm going to open up the forum for it here. The schemas of play is, once you understand them, will help you to parent from a place of understanding and knowledge as opposed to tradition, and assuming that some of the behaviors you see in your children are just a result of bad behavior. I learned so much in the last few years as a parent, and I am a new parent, but I've done a tremendous amount of reading, and I'm hoping that the information that I've learned will be helpful for you if you are a parent who is looking to do things different, if it doesn't just sit right with you to just do the things that your family did when raising you. Then I'm hoping the information that I share, that I can synthesize so many of the books that I've read to help you make some different decisions. And if you're just like, I don't want to do it the way they did, but I don't know what else to do, I'm hoping that I can help you. Schemas are described as patterns of repeated behavior which allow children to explore and express developing ideas and thoughts through their play and exploration. The repetitive actions of schematic play allow children to construct meaning in what they are doing. So all of the schemas of play are very important, and it is important to brain development for them to do these things repeatedly in order to make meaning and understanding through things in the world. So there are 9 of them, arguably more, but it's connecting, orientation, transporting, trajectory, positioning, enveloping, and closing and rotation. I'm going to share with you a few examples of maybe all of them. Sometimes it's hard for me to tell them apart. It's really not that important that you memorize and can label all of them. It's more that you understand that they exist, so that when you see that behavior in your child, you're just like, okay, this is a schema of play that they're going through. The name doesn't even matter. And it might be a combination of schemas happening, but that you understand that it's not that your child is repeating this thing because they're OCD, or that they're doing this behavior because they're misbehaving. Understand that this is an important, crucial part of brain development for them to do these things. Trajectory schema is an important one to begin with because of the fact that it is one of the earliest schemas of play that you'll see, and it's the one that will drive you the most crazy if you're anything like me. It is really one of the reasons that led me down the rabbit hole of all the books that I've read. And it basically is children's interest in the way things move, which is why they throw. They throw, they drop, they hurl, they kick. Particularly, I found a lot of that happens at the high chair, and it drives you nuts because of the fact that if they're at the high chair, that means that's food, and if that is being launched across the room or dropped, there's a mess being created. The problem that I had before I was parenting from a place of knowledge and information and research was that I thought that if I was assertive enough, she would stop that behavior. Now, of course, she was, a late infant, early toddler when she was starting to drop these things. And, I'm not the type to be a yeller and a screamer. As an educator, that's not my style in the classroom. So to be the mom that was hollering or just trying to be assertive enough to get her to stop this thing wasn't going anywhere. And I was just frustrated because the behavior wasn't stopping. And that's when I learned about so many things, but trajectory schema being one of them. So basically this repeated behavior is helping them to make meaning of essentially of gravity and how it works on objects. So the dropping and the throwing and the kicking, all of those things are helping them to construct meaning, or helping them to understand the way things move. And you will see it happen over and over again. And I felt like it had slowed down a bit. My daughter's almost 3 years old, but just recently she started taking things from her room and throwing them down the stairs again, and I could more see it in action because she would watch it, and then giggle once she saw how it landed. And so she would do like small objects. She was throwing clothing, and so they didn't make it all the way down the stairs. We have a night light that has a dome on top, a little plastic dome that she can easily remove. She threw that down the stairs because it bounces and makes like a dong sound, and she was so fascinated by it. She kept going back up the stairs to throw it again. And of course it drives you nuts. You don't hear the noise, the mess, all of those things. So I'm going to share a video with how I countered that, or how I supported this schema, is by setting up opportunities for her to throw things down the stairs. Things that were approved. So I have a drawer full of balls. We got balls, we got a basket. I set her up at the top of the stairs, and she launched things down, she kicked things down, she bounced things down, she rolled them down, and then she was trying to get them in the basket at the end, and she was thrilled. And we probably spent more than 30 minutes doing this. That doesn't solve the desire, but it allows them to work through this schema in a way that you approve of, in a way that doesn't create that mess, and does not demonize the behavior or make them feel like they're bad because they're literally doing what their brains are driving them to do. It's frustrating, and you can try to support them by, again, giving them activities where they actually get to throw in approved ways with materials that you approve of. Bean bags, in a basket, something against the wall, going outside, whatever it is a way that you can support it. And again, it doesn't eliminate it, but it will help quench the desire a little bit. And more importantly, what I found is just the active supervision, particularly around mealtime, was necessary to prevent it, and to also start paying attention to the signs of what happens right before they're about to throw. And for my daughter, it's just like there was a millisecond between I'm full and I don't want this on the table anymore, or I'm full and I want to entertain myself now, so let me find something fun to do with this food, which is smear it on the table or drop it or toss it. So I had to just actively supervise, and I was able to minimize that behavior quite a bit. Positioning. And this is just the act of wanting to line up things. They line up their toys incessantly. Here's a few examples of the positioning schema in action. There are two that I think are similar: enveloping and enclosing. So my understanding is that enclosing is when they're like building things around themselves or create a fort around things. And when they do that behavior repeatedly, you'll see it. It's not one that will drive you nuts, it's just something that you'll see. And then there's enveloping, which is actually wrapping things up. So putting clothes on is considered enveloping, wrapping themselves in things. The few examples I have, I think, are more when Lyric loves to be under the blanket with us, and she could do that all day long. When I have picnic blankets in the summer, I think that's when I have some footage that you can check out of Lyric just wanting to be under the blanket with us. It's something that she absolutely loves and can do all day. Transporting, which is wanting to move things from one place to another. Not necessarily throwing them, but actually taking them from one place to another. That I think I have a couple of videos on that, but transporting is one that you'll see that like they'll be happy to take a bunch of objects from one place and put them in another place. I think I'm seeing that at work more recently, like when we go to stores. If I'm not paying attention for long enough, for a period of time, I will see Lyric taking things from one shelf and then just going to the other side of the aisle to put all the things over there. And then I tell her to put them back. I'm like, someone worked hard to organize this shelf. We have to put it back. But she's recently started to do that. But another example of when she was younger is like just giving her, let's say, like a bucket of water and then a cup. And then she'd want to transfer the cup of water to the plant or to another bucket and just go back and forth and transport the water from one place to another. I think that's another example of it. But again, when you see these repeated behaviors, it's not so important that you can label them. It's great when you look it up and be like, that's the one they're doing right now. But it's more just when you see these repeated patterns, know that this is important to their brain development. Connecting is wanting to join things together through puzzles, through tying, maybe through magnets, attaching things to one another. I believe that I've seen Lyric demonstrating this one recently with her cars. Before, the cars were always being played with separately. We have this set of 4 cars that she really loves. More recently, she's been making sure that they were all in a line, which made me feel like it was positioning again. But then she wants to move them around, and then she always has to attach them. They always have to be close together. And this started after she got a train set that connects magnetically. Each car connects magnetically, and she absolutely loved that. But I also feel like it could be a little bit of the rotation things. They said if they're, fascinated by wheels turning, that can be rotation. But also the rotation is when they enjoy spinning things, spinning themselves. And I've seen that a lot recently. Orientation is just wanting to see things from different angles. If they want to be upside down and see things like that, and you see that behavior repeated, then that is an example of orientation. But the big message I want to say here is that there's so much that we don't know, that we take for granted about our child's brain and how that impacts the behaviors that we see. And when they're undesirable, we think automatically that our individual kid is bad, as opposed to understanding that they are going through something that every child goes through. And this is just one example. Schemas of play is one example of an aspect of brain development that is crucial to your child's development, and delivering harsh consequences to stop those things is stopping an aspect of their brain development that is helping them to figure out something that they're going to need in the future to help construct future learning. I strongly encourage you to look up the schemas of play on your own. These are just really brief examples and it doesn't encompass everything. But it's an exciting thing to learn about, and I hope that you do a little bit more research on your own and parent from that place of knowledge and understanding and love and support. And let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and I'll have more videos like this in the future.